Thanks, Kirsten. I got a call from a few weeks ago from Coppe Run to tell us that we were going to get this award, and it was interesting because you have your 20th anniversary of your group here, and it happens to coincide with the 20 years that we bought the company ago, which was August of 2005. And for you Buckeye fans, to carbon date this deal, Jim Tressel was a coach, Troy Smith was a quarterback, and in fact you did beat Michigan that year. So it was a good time, and so much for private equity groups flipping companies. I managed Austin Capital Partners up in Cleveland, and it's a small private equity group that focused on lower middle market companies in the Midwest. We looked for companies with proprietary products, and Vanner fit that to the T. At the time, it was being sold by a British conglomerate named B. Elliott, and Vanner was sort of the orphan company. It was a British company, and they were liquidating the entire business. And they were only talking to strategic buyers. This kind of relates to the deal side of everything. And I just managed to get in to meet the management team. And we were very interested in it, but they didn't want to talk to us. Well, finally, Vanner was the only company that hadn't been sold by B. Elliott, and the managers were going on to their next deal. So they said, all right, we'll sell it to you guys. So we bought it in 2005. And I'd like to tell you that it was linear growth all the way over the next period of time, because we owned it for 19 years. But it was not. For every couple steps forward, something would knock us back. Some of it was internal. We'd try a product application that might not take root right away, but that would lead to another product application that did work. Then we were also up against the market headwinds, like in 08, 09, with the banking downturn. And we decided to recap the company in 2014 because they were coming out of that down cycle, and we didn't want to sell them at that point. So we bought them, and then of course during the first Trump administration, we were dealing with tariffs and supply chain issues. So we had these ups and downs. And I guess where I'm headed with this is what got us through this deal was patience, persistence, and relationships. We had to be patient with the deal and persistent with what we were doing. But the relationships really helped get us through this deal. And that started with our bankers. We had one senior lender the entire time, Darren Maloney. He was with Bank One, and then I guess JP Morgan Chase, and then he went to PNC. But we stayed with him the whole time. And Steve, our president at the time, would call him up periodically and say, Darren, we're going to blow this covenant, but here's the reason why, and here's how we're going to get through it. And we always got through it. And then Huntington Capital was another great partner. Mark Ballman did several deals for us on the mezz side and co-invested with us. And he was always very cooperative. And eventually Mark went off with Frank Capella to start Oxford Capital. And Blake Sousa took over, and they were great partners as well. But then you fast forward to Coppe Run. Finally, in 2019, I meet with Andy, we sign him up and say, all right, let's get this thing sold. And at that point, we thought we knew the management team who we wanted to sell to, because our products went into, with their products, this larger company, into the market. And they signed them up to an LOI. We went down to the 11th hour, and they pulled the plug on us, not for any reason related to Vanna, but for other reasons, pertaining to their business. And lo and behold, COVID hit. So here we are. We started in 2019. We had to put everything on the shelf during COVID. Thank God we were in the military business at that point, because we were deemed to be an essential company. So they kept the lights on for the business during that period of time. And I got back to Andy in 2023 and said, let's get the business sold. And at that point, Mark Flavel had joined Coppe Run out of Cleveland, which is where my office was out of. And I give Mark a lot of credit. He went into the company, spent the week. I said, you got to get to know these guys. We have a unique culture. You got to get to know that business. And they put together a great information memorandum, contacted almost 300 companies or parties, prospective buyers, got something like 80 letters of interest, which we whittled down to about a half dozen visits. And the guys worked 24/7. And again, when I talk about persistence, that was a 5-year engagement that Coppe Run probably never wanted, but they did it, and it turned out to be a great deal for us. And I guess the moral of my story gets back to what everybody was talking about earlier. We had very strong relationships that we made here, and I think ACG is a great venue for this, and I hope you all take advantage of it. Thank you.